I'm doing great.
This has nothing to do with AEW actually, but I was just wondering your thoughts about Bryan Danielson. I just heard that he passed away.
Oh, so I just heard that, I don't know, midday. Makes me really sad. So for those of you who don't know who Bryan Dixon is, he's a promoter in the UK. So I had gotten let go from WWF in 2001. You know, you're really looking for places to work around the world, you know, trying to make a full-time living wrestling, and it's really hard. Dixon gave me that opportunity, and it was only 50 pounds a show, but we would wrestle 6 or 7 nights a week. And I went there in 2003 for 6 months. He paid me 50 pounds a show, and if he would have given me a little bit more money, I would have never left. I ended up going back again in 2005 and 2008, and I can't thank that man enough. I'm very grateful for him, and I'm sad that he passed away. That was a somber question to start this thing. I was ready to come in and talk about blood, and now I'm sad.
Ryan, Dominic D'Angelo, adfreeshows.com. Wanted to ask, Tony mentioned on the conference call a little bit that you're kind of helping creatively behind the scenes a little bit. Kind of want to get your insight on that and how that process has been for you, what you've kind of been doing. And then as a quick follow-up, speaking of booking, what book are you currently reading?
Okay, so the book that I am currently reading, I read 3 books at the same time. Mm-hmm. So I typically read something that's nonfiction, educational. Right now, I'm trying to read more business books and also kind of motivation books, not for me, but to help talk to people and understand people better as far as that sort of thing. So I was reading a book called Originals. Now I'm reading a book called Atomic Habits, which somebody told me I should have read a long time ago. Not super impressed. Sorry, James Clear. I usually read a poetry book, and I usually read a fiction book. So right now I'm reading The Three-Body Problem for fiction, which is, I think, won a Hugo Award maybe. And so it's really good. It's a lot of physics stuff. If anybody's interested in physics, we can talk about that for an extended period of time. But the Feynman lectures are great, which I just finished as well. So yeah, that's what I'm reading. I forgot what your other questions were.
About the creative work behind the scenes with Tony.
Yeah, so I love working with Tony, and I love working in AEW, and it's a lot of fun because sometimes before I even got here, Tony and I would talk on the phone sometimes for an hour and a half to 2 hours, and we'd just be talking about things and wrestling and that sort of thing. And I think we have very similar, we have a lot of similar ideas on wrestling. And sometimes he says things to me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a great idea, and we riff off each other really well. Which, and it doesn't even, when we do it too, it doesn't really feel like work. It's like when you love wrestling, it's stuff like that is fun.
That's the highest praise for me wanting to get in this business my whole life. That's the highest praise in the wrestling business right now, that you can get that from Bryan Danielson. So it means a lot, and I really appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Breakfast for Edge Grabstein podcast. I'm sorry for being a mark, everybody. Bryan Danielson, you're the greatest professional wrestler of our generation, and we are privileged to be able to watch you do your thing anytime. You had a very busy schedule to start the year, but it's kind of been not as busy recently. How does it feel to kind of get back in there with this crazy plunder of a match? And would you want to beat up any of those guys again, specifically Kenny Omega, in another match one-on-one?
Yeah, to be honest, I think, gosh, I'm really bad at remembering questions when they're that long.
Oh, sorry.
I was trying to go through my head as far as what was the first question?
The first thing was just saying you're great.
First, one, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. I appreciate a lot of you who have watched my career for a long period of time, and a lot of people don't get as much positive feedback as they need, and I feel like my cup is overflowing, and so thank you guys for that. And then the second part,
question is, how's it feel to be back because you
Oh.
haven't been super active.
Yeah, so I love brawling in the crowd. It's with the music playing. Like last year, even though I got hurt in the match, I loved it. And the live band this year was so great, and the energy in the arena, and so I love like fighting and feeling like I'm in a fight, and I love like the feeling of wrestling to me. It's like you just feel it inside, right? And when you're in the crowd, it's even different because it's like you get hit and you get punched and it's like, oh, that sucks, but I just landed in a fan and they're hitting your shoulders and it's great, and it's I don't know, it just really makes you feel alive, right? And so I was thrilled.
Over here, you have one, two.
It's Adrian Hernandez, Odyssey Sports. You seemed very eager to talk about violence, and you did bring up last year. Last year, someone almost was lit on fire. So in comparison with violence, how do you compare the violence meter of this year compared to last year's?
Yeah, I think now I would prefer to talk about the intensity, right? And sometimes I think part of this story is the BCC questioning the ability of the elite to get as intense as we can, right? That we have a question for them. You guys are guys who helped found this company, but this company has grown. And I mean, just look at the ticket sales for Wembley. Look at, we're getting a new two-hour TV show. And the wrestling's grown too. And the wrestling's more intense. And we're more intense, and nobody's more intense than us. Can you match our intensity, right? Was this match more violent? I don't know. Was it more intense? I think tonight, at least from my perspective, it was.
Thank you.
Bryan right here. Been on Cotton Raider Nation Radio, so I've got to ask you, man, I love that "Be Real" on the shirt. But when you come into a match like this, is there anything that you can tell the guys on your team, whether it be Wheeler who got the actual pin tonight? Is there any preparation or everything that you know about wrestling, just throw it out the window for this?
So, gosh, I'm so bad at social media. We had a talent meeting yesterday where we were talking about some social media things, and I actually, for the first time in a long time, I made Wheeler Yuta go on a hike with me today. I've been hiking every single day. The Red Rocks here in Las Vegas are unbelievable. Actually, Wednesday morning before Dynamite, it is 6+ mile hike up to Turtlehead Peak. But today I made Wheeler come with me as punishment for what he did on Wednesday for losing that match and just making a horrible pin attempt. That sort of thing. God, now I lost my own train of thought to the question. What was it again? I would get so invested in the hiking.
Well, basically, I like Turtlehead too. So basically, when he talks about Wheeler, preparing him, and you guys went on that.
Oh, yeah. I was preparing Wheeler for this, and I actually legitimately made him do push-ups and bridges on the Red Rock. And then I took pictures of it. And then I was going to put it on social media and tell everybody, this is what happens when you mess up and you train with the BCC. You think the elite guys are doing this? When they mess up? No, they go, oh, sorry, brother. It's okay. Everybody makes mistakes. No, everybody does make mistakes. But when you make mistakes, you got to bridge on the Red Rocks. That's what you got to do. So, yeah, that was my advice to Wheeler. And then also, Wheeler's been doing a great job. I just want to say that. I'm very thankful for AEW, the willingness to put people like Wheeler Yuta in this position. So if you think of like where Wheeler Yuta was a little over a year ago, and now he just beat Kenny Omega in the main event of a pay-per-view, and I'm really proud of him for that. I'm really proud of this company for that. You won't see that anywhere else.
Hi, Brian. Stephanie Chase from Digital.
Is that real leather?
No, it's actually not.
Oh, good. Okay. I wasn't going to answer your question.
I wasn't going to tell you it was So recently I spoke to Nigel McGuinness, and he was saying that if you sell at Wembley, he may have to come out of retirement, and he said his dream person would be you, given your history. So would you be up for a match with Nigel, his coming out of retirement match? What would it mean to you, and especially for it to be in the UK, where you guys had such a crazy match back in 2006 in Liverpool?
Yeah, I think Nigel McGuinness probably needs to shut his mouth a little bit, because I don't think at this point in his life he can handle the same intensity that he could in 2006. I mean, when you watch him on commentary, I think the world of him. I think the world of him as a wrestler, and I think the world of him as a commentator. But he no longer has the physical ability to match up with me. He did at one point, but here I am, I'm 42 years old, and it doesn't matter. I train so hard to stay like this. He stopped training, and do you think you can catch back up in 3 months? No, you can't. I look at his neck and I think that I'd break it, and I'm only 185 pounds.
What's your resting heart rate?
My resting heart rate at nighttime is 42. I probably right this second, it might be low 50s, and that would be high. I also, at 42, scored the highest on the pistol squat score on our recent medical. So yeah.
Denise Salcedo, Instinct Culture. Bryan, I want to ask you, the last time that we got to talk to you in one of these was when you came into AEW, when you made your debut. So with that being said, how would you describe or define this era of your career in AEW?
Oh gosh, it's really hard. I don't know. I'm really proud of the work that we're doing here, and proud of the work that I've been able to do. I never thought I'd do another hour-long match again in my life, and I've done 2 of them, and I'm very proud of both of them. And yeah, and I'm proud of the work that we do here. I'm proud of the wrestling that we do here. I'm proud of a lot of the talent, especially the younger talent. Like, when you feel like you start getting old, you see these people who, when I first got here, they came up to me and said, I watched you when I was a kid, and I was like, oh no, and but then to see them grow in just the little over a year and a half that I've been here, it's so rewarding. And so yeah, I've loved the experience, and I also I've never been at a place where the company has so much heart for the wrestlers, and that is so meaningful and makes me feel so grateful for this place. Not only to have, like, it's great to have a second option, a competitor to the company that kind of had a monopoly on TV wrestling for the last however long. But to do it with such grace, and to do it, to be so successful so quick. I mean, look at how many tickets have we sold at Wembley at this point? Like, it's unbelievable. And it's just, I don't know, it just makes me feel proud just to even be here. So yeah, that's it.
Thank you.
Brian Andreas, Sporting News. Opportunity. It's something that you spent your whole career. Sometimes you didn't get opportunities, but now you get the chance to not only give opportunities, but watch people get those opportunities. Can you talk about a few talent on this roster that you feel like is on the verge of getting an opportunity, and who you'd like to work with to elevate them a bit?
So the hard thing is naming people, because then you're leaving people out, right? I can tell you, like, for example, when I see Roosh, I feel like, like, talking about intensity, I'm like, when I wrestled him, I was like, oh my God. But that was fun. And, like, his intensity bleeds across the screen, right? I think the interesting thing, you know, MJF likes to talk about the 4 pillars. He didn't talk about Wheeler Yuta, and he just won the main event of a pay-per-view. I think he needs to rethink who he thinks the 4 pillars are, you know? So there's a lot of talented people on this roster, and to single out, you know, 1 or 2 it's just hard.
Can I ask you about Takeshita? He
Yeah.
was involved in the main event today, and is he a part of Blackpool Combat Club, just like Wheeler and...
I had no idea he was going to do that tonight.
Last question. Jack Farmer with Wrestling Inc. You had mentioned younger wrestlers, and you mentioned intensity. For all the younger wrestlers out there, whether it be in AEW or across the world, what's something that you look for beyond just intensity to stand out amongst their peers and amongst everyone in AEW?
So, this is a hard question, because people who try to stand out right away are not usually, to me, the people who make it in the long run. This is a long game, right? And there are so many things that you can do right away to stand out, and when you do them, you don't focus on the basic things that you need to become a better wrestler. One of the reasons that I'm very high on Daniel Garcia, for example, is he focuses on the basics and expands. Now, he could do bigger moves, and he could do this, and he could do more of this, or whatever it is, and that would be an easier way to get attention at a younger age. But that's not the way to where he would be at 35. I think one of my fears with the younger guys who do so much stuff, but this is, you know, this has always been happening with younger people. You slow down as you get older. But somebody like Daniel Garcia, who's focusing on the basics, he's getting better at all these different things, emoting in promos, doing all these different things. And so, to me, it's a focus on the basics, and it's creating good habits to keep learning. And I think that's in any job. Whatever we're doing right now, whatever job you do, it's going to be changing in the next 10 years. So you need to have a good grasp of what the fundamentals are of your job or the thing that you love, and then expand on that and be able to pivot when the industry that you're in changes as well. And so I think that's the key. It's not so much like, hey, you need to do this. You need to be willing. One, wrestling is hard work. You need to train hard and know that it's going to be hard. And don't expect it to come super easy. And for some people, it will come easier than others, but I think that's them telling me I should shut up. But that would be my advice to younger wrestlers, is like, focus on the long game. Focus on creating good habits as far as learning wrestling, and then work as hard as you can. And also, there's a lot of luck to being like in the position that I'm in right now. You mentioned Nigel McGuinness, and what I said may have sounded like an insult. You switch a couple things around, Nigel McGuinness would be right here as a however many time world champion instead of me, right? So there are some things that are hard work, and some things are just are partially luck too. So
Thank you, Bryan.
Thank you, Bryan.
And before I leave, I just want to say thank you to all you guys who come and cover AEW and do such a great job with it. I mean, we really appreciate your support, and even some of the feedback that's not so positive. But but I appreciate all of you guys being here in the room and having this interest. So thank you very much.
Thank you.